about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. I hate wearing glasses. If I could change anything about me, which I have tried to do with LASIK and try not to age and everything else I've tried, contact lenses, I wish I didn't need glasses. I can't stand the fact that I was glasses free until I was 11. Then a teacher saw me squinting to see the board, so I had to get glasses at the age of 11. Then I deal with contacts throughout my medical training until my eyes rejected the contact lenses, and I got a giant cell papillary conjunctivitis where the lid starts to grow some fibrous tissue to shall we say, cause a barrier between the eyelid and the contact. And I end up then getting LASIK. I have a few years of no contacts, no glasses, perfect vision. And then the 40s come and you lose the ability to accommodate well. And then you need to start reading glasses. And now I'm back to the point where not only do I need reading glasses, but I have issues seeing things far away. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And for years, I've been seeing these studies saying eye drops will later be the cure. And I'm like, really? And if you put an eye drop in, if you have, let's say, bacterial conjunctivitis, or if you use an eye drop for allergic conjunctivitis, you'll notice sometimes with the drop, your refraction changes and you could see clearly, for a millisecond. But it's a drop that dissipates across the globe of the eye. And, I've been wondering about how they're going to make this work. And the presbyopia, or the age-related farsightedness, which makes it hard for us to read, which is why we need reading glasses, has been the focus of this sort of, shall we say, medical theory of, well, maybe we could use drops. And scientists have found that if they do there's a formulated specialized eye drop that could restore close-up vision for many patients, which could then hopefully prevent them from needing glasses or surgery. Now, the study was presented September 14th at the 43rd Congress of the European Society of Cataract and Refractive Surgeons in Denmark. I know many of you are like, how do I get to this meeting? Well, it was September 14th. You missed it. The European Society of Cataract and Refractive Surgeons. But it was in Denmark. And what this study did is they looked at 766 patients, many of them in their mid-50s, who were having these classic symptoms of presbyopia. And instead of glasses, they used a prescribed eye drop that had pilocarpine. Now, pilocarpine can help your eye adjust focus. They also added an anti-inflammatory, diclofenac. And patients were told to use the drops twice daily, once in the morning and then 6 hours later. And if they needed a third dose, they could. And then their vision was measured with small print eye charts over the course of 2 years. Within an hour of applying the first dose, patients were able to read significantly more lines on the near vision chart. In the lowest concentration of the drops, nearly every participant, according to Fox News, could see at least 2 extra lines. The stronger formulations gave the ability to read 3 or more. If they used them for a year, more than 8 in 10 patients were able to still notice results without needing glasses. And the benefit lasted well over a year. There were some side effects, some dimming of their vision, some had headaches, some had irritation. But interestingly, none of the 766 participants stopped the drops because they were uncomfortable. Dr. Benozzi, who led the study, said the treatment was not meant to replace surgery for those who want a permanent fix, but to provide an accessible, non-invasive alternative. Now, I love this idea because the problem I have is when I don't have my glasses, I really feel like I'm in trouble. And I'll use my phone and I will try to magnify. I'll take a picture and magnify, or I'll use my light, because light, if you've noticed, you know, light will help you improve. The dimmer the room, the harder it is to read. With my shampoo bottles, I have to use a big Sharpie and put S and C so I know which is the conditioner and which is the shampoo, or I just buy a different brand so I recognize it. But whenever I get a new hair product, I have to take pictures and magnify and zoom out. It's very debilitating. And then, I'm driving my mom around Israel. I had to have glasses on because otherwise I couldn't read the signs. I'm like, really? And so not having glasses, you're disabled. You have that handicap. And so you don't want to be in a position where you need always something to help you function. So I love the idea of the drops, but there were some other side effects such as reduced night vision. We want to make sure it also doesn't cause issues with the retina. And then also diclofenac, long-term diclofenac, which is an anti-inflammatory, could that also, affect the eye? So there's still some work to be done. I got to tell you, I heard about them using drops and I think pilocarpine now for almost 2 decades. So I don't want to get overly excited, but we're getting closer. And if you taking your daily medicine include drops that'll help you see better in case you don't have your glasses, that's cool. In the meantime, we do have cataract surgery that can also, for those of us slowly getting to that age, the new lens can be refracted to help you with your vision if necessary. But I don't want to do that. 1-877-Daliah. Don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
We're back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So one of my listeners has a situation which I think is all too common, but I'm going to paraphrase. Basically, they have a 23-year-old son who is struggling to get a job. He actually wants to get a job, and the wife is very supportive, wanting the child to live at home until he gets that job. Dad thinks the best thing for him is to move out. I've had conversations with my husband similar to this. You know, the moms are like, "Oh, my baby needs to be with his mama." The dads are like, "It's got to be on his own." Although I moved out earlier than my husband did. I was out of the house the day I turned 18 because my parents wouldn't let me leave sooner, and I was clawing to get out of the house. But the other thing he has said is that the wife is trying to help the child get a job because he's struggling to get a job. And so, you know, how much is too much from a parent? Well, if this was the 80s and the 90s, I would say parents back off. Hey, you know, some of the best education I got was when I moved out of the house and I had to learn how to support myself on $6 a week for groceries. And boy, was I skinny. Now, and I had to work multiple part-time jobs while going to school to support myself because if I didn't work, I didn't eat. Figuring out how to use public transportation until I was able to scrape enough money to get myself a car with no air conditioning in the desert summer. And I just think that taught me so much more about real life and about, you know, economics and how to support myself, that I think that knowledge, you just can't replicate that. But it was a different time then. You know, all you had to do was, you know, have some work ethic. You had to have a decent resume. If you didn't have an education, at least a willingness to work, learn on the job, and it was a little easier to get a job. Now, there's not enough jobs for younger individuals. There's actually too many people with college degrees. I go to these college graduations, you know, for friends and family, and I'm looking at the thousands of people graduating going, where are all the jobs for these individuals? And so now you're Gen Z, now you're these younger generation, they're really struggling. They want to get a job, but they're not out there. And then the rent is expensive. And then the idea of finding a roommate. Do you guys remember the movie Single White Female? Single White Female was I think it was a movie with Bridget Fonda and Lee. Gosh, I forget her name. You all know, but I think Bridget Fonda was advertising herself. I'm a single white female looking for a roommate. So she gets a roommate, and then the roommate ends up being a complete, killer. And that's how I would live with people, men, women I didn't know, just to rent a room. I lived in somebody's backyard. He had a little shed with a bed, and I lived in that backyard just because, whatever I had money for rent was where I would live. And it's even though that was dangerous in retrospect, although he was really, really cool and I felt safe with him, it's different nowadays. People don't have the friend network like they used to, and living with strangers, it doesn't seem to be as attractive as it once was. And so those of you that have an adult child that's living at home, I don't find that a bad thing. If the child's 40, that's a problem. But if they, finish school or they finish their trade certification, they're trying to find a job, they're trying to get enough money together so that they could afford rent or try to get, a house or get married. I don't see that as a problem. Now, what about trying to help them get a job? Again, everything I did on my own. I didn't have a lot of help from my family, and I didn't want their help because there was always strings attached. But again, you can't, I told my kids, go pavement pound, get out there, walk, do what I did where, I walked up and down the sidewalk and I parked my car and I would walk in, I'd introduce myself and I'd, ask them for a job. That's not the way it is anymore. It's go apply online. And these kids are struggling. And so for those of us who are Gen X or baby boomers, where we knew exactly what to do, we had a plan, and hopefully it worked, 1 out of every 20 applications might have gotten a response. For these kids, it's 1 out of every 500 applications may get a response, if that. It's a frightening time. And it's frightening for us adults because we need our kids to take care of us later. Yeah. So, fortunately, my son has a job. He's hopefully soon going to get married. And, but he wanted to, he wanted to originally move out and live with his friends. And I was really supportive of that. But there was a odd number of, when the friends all moved out, there was he was going to be odd man out. And he was going to live with a stranger. And he really wasn't excited about, at the time, that university or whatever. So he decided to stay, save money. And he's so happy with the money he saved. And I think that's a benefit of living at home. To me, I thought it was all, bad. I'm like, living at home makes you soft, makes you dependent. I thought it was bad. But you can have somebody live at home and still teach them real life. 1, they could pay rent. 2, they could be actively working. Or if they don't have a job, go back to school. Or volunteer, build your resume, learn another language, do international student work, or there's apprenticeship. So where you live is important, but if you're looking at your child spending $2,000-$3,000 a month that they don't have, and they don't have a roommate they could trust, one thing that I'm really biased against in terms of kids moving out, because I saw a lot of kids do this from my friends' kids, is depending on who they lived with, depended on what drugs they got into. And if you have a child that really needs to focus, and you think that the people they're going to end up, trying to cohabitate with is going to always have the apartment smelling of dope, or they're going to be into other things, they, as much as I want to see these kids become independent, I think our job as parents is to make sure they get on their feet. I really do believe that our role is multifaceted. One is we have to feed them, we have to provide protection and shelter, but we need to get them ready for the real world. Well, getting them ready for the real world is them learning how to pay their own rent, feed themselves, support themselves, absolutely. But it's also being able to, get that job. And if it does take us helping them, another thing a lot of people don't understand is many of these kids really regressed with COVID. They're not as, mature or savvy as some of us older generations are. And maybe it's because of all the computers. Maybe it's because of all the TikToks. Maybe it's because of their education in school. I don't know what it is, but they're different. I mean, when I hear kids say they don't want to have kids because it's too much work, that frightens me. I'm like, everything is work. And, I had a discussion with my son, a few years back. And, he's like, I don't know if I want to do that. College is a lot of work. And I'm like, well, you have a choice. You either do your hard work now, and life might be a little easier later, or have it easy, party it up, and then be struggling and have to work hard the rest of your life. I mean, medical school was horrible. I mean, it was really, really difficult. But there's no way I could do that now. And at least I have a career so that I don't have to work as hard. And so, for those of you that are in this position where you're like, I feel like my kids need my help, still, when I didn't need this type, that's okay. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret.
Powered by science.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So there was a boy who allegedly was, I think, a sophomore, who was allowed to be in the girls' locker room and watch girls undress. And it was a 14, I think this was a sophomore. And ABC7 is reporting that the Defense of Freedom Institute sent a letter to the U.S. Department of Education saying that a boy was watching girls change in Fairfax County's West Springfield High School girls' locker room. But not only was that shocking, but when a girl complained, teacher said there was nothing they could do. The Defense of Freedom Institute is now requesting the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights to investigate the actions of school officials, consider sanctions against the public schools as authorized under Title IX, and, quote, put FCPS or Fairfax County Public Schools on clear notice that failure to comply with federal law in immediately restoring sex-separated access by students to its locker rooms and all other intimate facilities will result in the withdrawal of federal funding. See, I'm shocked about this because when I worked for a university, Title IX was all about protecting women from this type of, these, I guess, types of actions where you're allowed to have your own space. And then all of a sudden in the Biden administration, it switched where you had to allow a biological male into the room. Well, Trump changed that. And so current Fairfax County Public Schools policy, they say that allows students the option to access bathrooms and locker rooms based on gender identity, not biological sex. This policy is now under scrutiny by the U.S. Department of Education because the department believes the policy violates Title IX. But the school system claims its policies are protected by the Fourth Circuit decision on Gavin versus Gloucester County School Board. So on September 2nd of this year, a 14-year-old girl went into the girls' locker room at West Springfield High School, changed into clothes for gym class, but as she was leaving, She encountered a male student who had facial hair, was wearing pants that were so tight they clearly outlined his genitalia, standing inside the girls' locker room and watching the girls preparing for PE class. This is quote unquote in terms of the tight clothes. DFI says the girl was upset by the boy's presence, where she had just changed, didn't know he was watching. The other girls were in various stages of undressing as they prepared for gym class. DFI says when the girl told the teacher that there was a boy in the girls' locker room, the teacher told her daughter that there was nothing that teacher could do about the boys intruding into the private facility reserved for females and watching girls as they changed. This is according to the complaint. So the parent called administrators multiple times, did not receive a response. When she did get in touch, she said the administrator suggested that if the girl was uncomfortable, she could use a different facility like a unisex bathroom. The boy entered the locker room again on September 10th and 11th and watched the girls change again. So, the letter to the Department of Education from DFI says, upon information belief, the boy identifies as female, but in addition to entering the girls' locker room and watching the girls change, has also used the boys' locker room and bathrooms at the school. Upon information and belief, multiple other parents of ninth grade female students at WSHS have complained to the school's administrators about the presence of the boy in the girls' locker room. It's interesting. I was in Israel, and I was talking to individuals, and some of the Israeli citizens, and they were, they said, look, we have a very robust LGBTQIA plus community, but we don't seem to have the drama that you guys have as it pertains to bathrooms, as it pertains to accidentally misgendering. If you don't refer to somebody as he or she and get it wrong, you could get fired. And even other countries that are very supportive of transgender rights don't have things to this degree. And having friends and family members that are of the transgender community, they're not asking for this. They're not asking for biological boys to be able to watch females. That's not what many of them just want to privately transition, have access to medical care, make sure their insurance helps cover the procedures and that they're getting whatever procedures they could safely obtain. But here this is where politics, just does a number on things. It becomes this issue where you have kids who are struggling with their own privacy, going through puberty. 14-year-old girls, many of them have already, completed puberty or having periods, and it's not an easy time, let alone changing in front of other girls. Why would we put vulnerable people in this position? And also, let's say you do have a transgender female who's a biological male. You know how cruel girls can be in the locker room? You really want to subject a boy to that? Where if a girl doesn't want him in the locker room, or now identifying as her, they can make that pretty miserable. I think what schools need to do is have single-use showers, single-use bathrooms. If they're going to be going back and forth with the courts on who gets to be in the bathroom or not. But what has to be a given is girls have their private space and boys have their private space. You cannot have somebody with facial hair sit there watching girls. That's assault. And maybe the child, was zoning out. Maybe but still, I just cannot believe that this is something that schools can't figure out, especially when Title IX, pre the Biden administration, was pretty self-explanatory. It was pretty common sense. You can't be showing your genitalia to other people. You can't be making people feel uncomfortable. can't be sexually suggestive at work. Students don't need to be exposed to sexually suggestive material like that one girl was at that Las Vegas high school where she had to do a monologue staring at a boy in his groin saying, I don't want that in me, because she prefers feet. I mean, these are things that Title IX has protected for years. And now we're in this position where it's being questioned, and no, we have to do the opposite. We have to ensure that these topics are brought up, that there's you can identify as who you want to, even if you're gender fluid, and use whichever bathroom you want. Then it has to be single-sex rooms. You cannot subject somebody else to a lack of privacy like that. And personally, I think a lot of girls would like to not have to change in front of other girls, too. And I know people say, well, Dr. Daliah, that's going to cost the school a lot of money. Well, I think the lawsuits are costing them a lot of money. I mean, you're having parents wanting to rip these kids out of these classrooms. And as I said, one thing we teach young girls is, to look for the signs of when, they might be in trouble. Always go to the bathroom with somebody else. If somebody looks like they're in your space that aren't supposed to be, then don't go in there. And it confuses them when, policies start to change. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I find it fascinating that for years people would not do their blood work or would not take certain medications because they were afraid of a needle. I remember having diagnosed people with diabetes and they weren't responding to oral medications. And I'd say, we need to get you in control. We might have to consider insulin. Oh, no, I'm not going to do any needles. No needles. And to get somebody to do a blood test or to take a medication or to get a flu shot, no, it was anti-needle. Yet all of a sudden we have Ozempic, right? and Mounjaro, or Wegovy and Zepbound, the weight loss counterparts. And all of a sudden, everybody is pro needle. I mean, wow. They just needle. I had a friend of mine who said she was taking it, and I go, weren't you the one that refused an IV when you were throwing up and having diarrhea because you were anti-needle? Oh, I overcame that. Really? Now, in their defense, the needle is small. It's a 4 millimeter. It's not like a 14 gauge, or it's a small. It's a smaller needle. But many pharmaceutical companies want to look at a different delivery system because these injectables are expensive. It's so much cheaper to give somebody a pill than to do these injectable pens. So oral weight loss medications that are similar to Ozempic and Wegovy is, even though we have some already, but they just don't seem to have the same weight loss results as Ozempic or Mounjaro. But Eli Lilly does have a drug. We spoke about this, the orforglipron. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Orforglipron. It's a pill acting as a GLP-1 agonist and has demonstrated, quote, meaningful weight loss as well as cardiometabolic improvements, according to their press release. In the phase 3 ATTAIN-1 trial, which was published in the New England Journal of Medicine and being reported by Fox News, they looked at the safety and efficacy of the drug in adults who had weight-related medical issues but were not diabetic. The patients underwent 72 weeks of treatment with 3 different doses, 6 milligrams, 12 milligrams, and 36 milligrams. And after the trial period, the results showed that the orforglipron met the primary endpoint of superior body weight reduction. Those who took the highest dose lost an average of 27.3 pounds. Nearly 60% of these participants lost 10% of their body weight, while 39.6% lost at least 15%. Of the 1,100 participants who had pre-diabetes at the start of the study, 91% got nearly normal blood sugars, compared to 42% who were taking placebo. So that is significant. The orforglipron showed, quote, clinically meaningful improvements in cardiovascular risk factors that are associated with obesity, like non-HDL cholesterol, systolic blood pressure, and triglycerides. Plus, the C-reactive protein, a marker for inflammation, went down. So the side effects were similar to the injectables: nausea, GI upset, constipation, diarrhea, vomiting. But that's pretty promising in terms of a pill form. I think those numbers might have even been better than the Ozempic shot. But, you know, when you hear they say you lost 10% of your body weight, that is significant from a medical standpoint. But you'll have people who are 250 pounds and they get very frustrated with their Ozempic because they're not 130 when they use it. Well, if you're losing 10% of your body weight and you're 250 pounds, that's only 25 pounds. So you may go from 250 to 225. Significant. And any weight loss helps. But I don't think these people are realizing, you know, what's a practical weight loss. They look at Oprah. They look at, who's the one that played Amy in Pitch Perfect? I forget her name. She's Australian. She lost a lot of weight and she advertises microdosing of the medication. Oh gosh, I forget her name. So I think people see these stars and they go, wow, look how skinny they are. So why aren't I getting that skinny? Well, if a lot of these drugs, the average is 10% of your body weight. If you're 250 pounds, 25 pounds is your 10%. You know, to think that you're going to get down to 140, 130 pounds It's going to take a lot more work. Now, if they do make a pill form, I think they will be able to make it cheaper. Now, some people say, well, how? What if you have to take the pill every day? I think it still is cheaper than the pens and the needles and the caps and the delivery systems and the liquid medication. So we need these medications cheaper. The problem I have is, how long are we supposed to be taking these medications? I had a patient that called in the telemedicine company because she wanted to restart, and the urgent care side doesn't do the medication, but the primary care side does. And she goes, oh, I lost a significant amount of weight on Wegovy. And I go, well, what? Why did you stop? Why aren't you on it now? Well, it was too expensive. Insurance wouldn't cover it. And then I rebounded, gained all the way back, so I want to go back on it. So I asked her, I go, is this cycle realistic for you and practical? You lost weight, maybe kept it off a few months, spent a lot of money on the drug, gained the weight back. Now you're going to go back on. Well, because they get addicted to the weight loss. They have all these clothes that they bought when they were skinnier. Now they want to go back in those clothes. Now, I don't blame them. You lose the weight. You want to keep that weight off. But what's the long game? What's the end game with this? If it only works while you're on it. Now, some studies said that the weight maintained. People were able to do it without the drug. But the majority of people, no. I see them rebounding. And some are claiming they're getting very, very hungry, where they rebound more than when they started. So some people might be really excited that we have this possibly down the pike pill form from Eli Lilly. And I mean, I'm excited that, we have other options. But if you're telling me you're going to have to be on this medication for life, how do we know it's safe? I don't know how safe that is. We've never had people on this for life. We do have studies of those with diabetes who have been taking these medications now for a significant amount of time. However, they're on dosing to manage blood sugar. They're not on dosing that people are doing to lose weight, where they're manipulating and they're micro-dosing and they're going up on the dose quickly, and they're, it's apples and oranges. So for those of you that have achieved some weight loss and you're happy about it and you're excited and you're loving the weight loss, I'm happy for you. But talk to your medical provider about, how long are you going to be on this? Just like with ADHD medication. ADHD medication may help people, be able to function really well at work and school. But how long are you on it for? When does it end? I mean, are you on it throughout the third grade, then middle school? Then what about high school? What about college? I mean, when do you stop? 1-877-DOC-BELLY. Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon, or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.